Hello, this is a tutorial for my Amigurumi students. They have a pattern of this little kitty, and I'm going to demonstrate some techniques that we practiced in the class, based on experience where students say to me, "Oh, I'd like to take you home." So I think this is a very good alternative. I'm going to put this little kitty aside and we will start. The first technique I'm going to demonstrate is a technique that's used in Amigurumi when you're going to work in the round. It's called magic ring, and it goes as follows. Trap the tail of your yarn in the palm of your hand. Split your fingers like a Star Trek sign. Bring your yarn around the back of your fingers, cross over the tail, make sure you cross over the tail, and just trap your working yarn so that it's stable over there. Slide your crochet hook in under the front strand and pull up the back strand. Flip your arm up, palm facing up, and just grip this connection and slide your two fingers out. Set yourself up to crochet in whichever way you hold your yarn. Make a chain. And this chain is only for securing your ring. It doesn't count as a stitch or anything, so pretend that it doesn't exist. You will now work, in this case, 6 double crochet into the ring, which is in there, and you need to work over those 2 strands. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. Now if you find that this ring is just too wide to cope with, you can take the tail and just pull it in slightly so you have a smaller ring to work with. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what you do is you pull the tail to close the ring, but before you pull this tail up tight, I recommend you slide your crochet hook into the first stitch that you're going to work in the next round, and then pull the tail up tight. If you don't do this, this first stitch tends to slip and hide underneath, and it's very difficult to find it. So I'll just work the first stitch of the next round so that you can see what this looks like. Pull the tail up nice and tight, and you have a center that's very closed. So that's the magic ring. If you really just can't get your head around the magic ring, and sometimes some amigurumi artists do ask for this start, it's called a 2-chain start. Make your slip knot and just work 2 chains, hence the name. In the second chain from the hook, work 6 double crochet. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you can see that this little hole in the center here is a bit big, and you don't really have a pull to pull it up closed. But what you can do is, after a couple of rounds, you can thread this tail and just work it in under those stitches and pull it up tight, and the circle will be closed in the middle there. Just remember that you don't want that hole to be there because you've got stuffing inside and it might work its way out, or you can see it from there. So that's the 2-chain start. The next technique is how to change color. If you need to change color at all, work only half the double crochet. So this is your whole double crochet. When you want to change color, pull up a loop. Don't finish working the stitch, and pick up the new color that you want to work with. And finish the stitch like that. Now what you do is you work around, but you make sure that you work underneath both these tails so that they disappear. and you don't have to worry about working them away later on. So I'll just stop there so I can demonstrate the next few techniques to you. The next technique is called an increase, which is worked into one stitch. You work 2 double crochet into one stitch, therefore turning one stitch into 2 stitches. Pull up a loop, work your first double crochet, and in the same spot you work another double crochet. So you've turned that one stitch into 2 stitches. The next one is a double crochet 2 together. The exact opposite to that. It is to get rid of stitches. In the increase you're making stitches, in the decrease you're getting rid of stitches. If you look at your stitches, they have this V shape. The V shape consists of a front loop or a front leg and a back leg, and I'm going to, just for the purposes of this tutorial, number this one stitch number 1 and that one stitch number 2. So you scoop up the front leg of stitch number 1 and you scoop up the front leg of stitch number 2. Pull up a loop through the scoops only and then finish off the stitch. I'll do another one. Scoop up the front leg of stitch number 1, scoop up the front leg of stitch number 2, pull up a loop through the scoops only, and then finish the work. This gives you a lovely flat decrease. The following decrease is also in the pattern that I've given my students. I'll just show you. We're going to do the decrease that's called treble 2 together. It's a lovely decrease to give you a sharp shaping. So to make this boot up into the leg, this little decrease over here. And that is a treble 2 together decrease. In the pattern, it asks you to do treble 2 together 3 times. So we will do that here so you know what to do. Yarn around the needle, bring up a loop, and work only half the stitch. Yarn around the needle, pull up a loop, work half the stitch. You have 3 stitches on your needle and work them off. That's the first one. Second one, same thing. There we go. And third one. Voila. And you can see how that kind of falls in. So that is a technique that is when you're working the boots in the pattern. I'm just going to pull this back so I can demonstrate some other techniques to you. There are a few more. Working in the back loop and the front loop is also required. So if you look at your stitches, I explained to you earlier on, there's a front loop or a front leg and a back loop or back leg. When the pattern requires you to work into the front loop, all you do is you scoop up the front loop and you work a double crochet in there. Scoop up, scoop up, scoop up. So that's into the front leg. Now you can do the same by working into the back leg, and all you do is you dive down into the back leg or the back loop. And I'll show you in a minute how we use that. Now working into the back loop, as you can see, without much effort, this work is changing direction, right? And we use that in the boot. So here's the sole, and if you can see just here, we've worked into the back loop of this row, and it's made the work change direction completely. In the front loops, when you look at working in the back or the front loops, you will notice that there's a line of half stitches lying across here, right? In the backpack, for the little flap, I worked into the front loops, which left the back loops lying on the back of the work. And what I did was I used the back loops to attach the shoulder straps. So you can work in two directions if you split the stitch, right? Back loop or front loop. So that's that. Oh, and the last technique just right now is how to fasten off. So you go ahead and you work your last stitch, and then the pattern requires you to fasten off. Scoop up a loop and just make a slip stitch. There we go. Now you can break the yarn off and pull it straight through like this. Nothing fancy. And now you pull that last slip stitch. Also, it doesn't count for anything. It's not a stitch at this point because you're fastening off the work. Okay. Attaching the arms to the body. I very seldom sew the arms on separately unless the design requires it. So what I'll do here now quickly is just take this one off. While I'm talking to you, what happens here is when you get to the top of the arm, right? Flatten the arm out. I very seldom stuff any arms, and I put a weight in the bottom here, which I'll explain to you later. Make sure that when you change colors, there's generally a jog in the color, as you can see over here. Make sure that's at the bottom of the arm. Flatten it out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to close the top of the arm. And the way that works is just work into the front and the back. To the front and the back. 1, 2. The last one is not an exact science. 3, and I'm just going to put one last one in there, maybe there. But the last one I'm not going to finish off. I'll just leave that stitch there live. So what I do is I attach the arm into the last round, and what that does is it makes a little shoulder. Oops. Which I quite like. I like the aesthetic of that, and I also like the fact that you could lay some braces or the top of a dress over that to make it look, and it won't fall down. For me, it just is aesthetically more pleasing that way. And the way you work that is like this. You position the arm on the side of the body. What you can do is just find the middle of the body, squish the top, and find the sides, and then just place your arm in the middle of that. So say my arm has got 4 stitches, so I'll have 2 stitches on the back and 2 stitches on the front. So we'll just do it like that. All right, so then this is how you do it. Make sure that that little jog is on the underarm. So we'll go into, so I've got my stitch from the body, then I'll go into the top of the arm and into the next stitch of the body, pull a loop through the body and the arm, and then finish off the double crochet. And the next one, 1 through the body, through the arm. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's completely doable. 1, 2, 3. And the last one, because I've left that stitch live, all I do is I put the needle into the live stitch, go into the body, pull it through and work it off. And then you can just finish off the round by working a couple of double crochets and fastening it off. There we go. And I'm going to fasten it off there and just pull the thread through. So that's what it looks like. The arms are already done, and if I can find the fox's head here, I can show you. We'll put the fox on like that, and the arms are already done. I think it's a very quick and easy way of attaching the arms. I'll put that aside. Now, I use weights at the extremities of the appendages, of the arms and the feet, and sometimes I'll put a weight in the bottom to make it sit well, like this boy doesn't sit well, but to sit like that. And the way to do that, I use marbles, and I'll wrap them in some calico. If you don't wrap them in some calico or some cotton or something, they tend to be very slippery and they can slip up the arm. But once you've placed this into the bottom of the appendage, it generally will stay there. So what I do is I have a circle, a calico circle. I'll just give you the diameter. It's about 6.5 diameter, and I'll just wrap the marble in there, fold it up, and then just do some sewing cotton and wrap it around there. You don't even have to sew it or anything, just wrap it around, which is what I've done there. Okay, so that's, and then you just shove it, you finish off the hand. You'll just finish off the hand and then put the marble in and then continue to finish the arm. If you wanted to put some weight into the bottom, like in the bottom of the body, what you do is you just take two of these little circulars, sew them together, and I have used a polyester beads. You could use a washer, you could use some small bicycle bearings, all of those kind of things, just to give it some weight. I don't recommend rice or lentils or anything organic because it might get a bit yucky if it got wet. And then you place that, before the stuffing, you would place that down into the base, and then you start to stuffing, and it gives some weight to the bottom and helps in making your creation a little bit more animated. Now, eyes. I've got some eyes here. Now, on the kitty's head, I embroidered all the features. On the fox head, I was going to embroider all the features, but I thought I'd use this opportunity just to show you how to use the safety eyes. Obviously, the safety eyes need to be inserted before the head is stuffed, but I think I can demonstrate pretty well what I'm trying to do. There is a lot of controversy about what eyes to use. Should you use the safety eyes, and are they safe, or should you rather just embroider the features? My take on it is, I challenge anybody to get one of these out once it's been fixed. I've had to do it, and I had to use a pair of industrial pliers to chop off the eye to get it out. So that's my take on it. But you just decide. If you don't want a baby to have the safety eyes, don't use them. I wouldn't hesitate, because I think they are so tight that I don't think you can get them out. But there are babies who have skills. So you just choose. Anyway, the thing that I want to explain to you is eyelashes. Okay, once you've established where you're going to put your eyes, say over there, I've got a sewing needle with some embroidery thread. The embroidery thread, I've just got 3 strands of the 6 strands, and you can just come at it from the bottom. Let's just move that a little bit and come out at the eye area. There we go. That would just bury inside there. So now you can decide what kind of eyelashes you would like to have. What I do recommend is, once you've made your first eyelash, take your safety eye and put it in and see that the eyelash is long enough. Take it out and then continue, just finish your eyelashes. So it will look something like that. Please bear in mind that with the safety eyes, the head is not stuffed. So you then insert the safety eye, and from the wrong side, you will push this little cup up against the shank of the eye, like this. And you'll push, and you can hear it actually lock in. And it's quite nice because it does make a little indentation once the eye is in. And that's what you'll have. You'll have the eye with the eyelashes. You can also put an eyebrow there if you want to. You can give the fox a few whiskers if you like. Those are all options. Now, I think I've actually done everything I wanted to do. We'll bring the kitty cat back and say goodbye. I hope that helped you. Until the next time I have something that I think is important. Bye-bye.